Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my review of Across the Spider-Verse. Finally, it came out. I saw it, and let me tell you, I really enjoyed my time. I'm gonna do non-spoiler stuff first, and we'll get into some spoilers in a little second here. But I feel like I definitely have to address this in hopes that this problem will be solved. This doesn't really have to do with the movie per se, but movie theaters, because my showing of it Across the Spider-Verse had some very weird sound issues. And at first I thought it was just me. I'm like, what is going on? Then I thought it was the speaker, because like all the ads and everything else sounded fine. And then the beginning of the movie, Gwen is giving this little monologue, and you can barely hear her over the score that's playing, which the score is great. The score is actually really good in this film. I saw some people critiquing, say like there was no song like Sunflower in this, which there really wasn't, but I feel like Sunflower was like a cherry on top. It wasn't the meat of the meal, I feel. So I didn't need a Sunflower. But yeah, for some reason there are, and I almost thought it was a creative decision at first, because it only happened when a character was monologuing to themselves, which was weird. But yeah, there are some theaters, or actually a lot of theaters have been having this issue. So I don't know if I would say it's so bad that you would have to wait. I'll just say I feel like you'll have a better audio, a better like audio experience if you did wait. But if you're like me, you're probably gonna want to see this multiple times anyway, so I don't know. It's definitely very good, and definitely try to avoid spoilers if you can, because there are some twists in this film that I was not expecting at all. But just talking about the film overall, they went super hard with the art in this film. Like it's hard to imagine how you could push into the Spider-Verse even harder to get across the Spider-Verse, but they managed to do it. And I feel like the way that they accomplished it was definitely tying the art much more closely to the story and not just trying to accomplish the comic book feel. Even though I feel like they did do some of that in Into the Spider-Verse, but it was so much more here. And I also feel like this story is similar to Miles, as we've seen from the trailers and stuff. It's maturing. It gets into some other topics here, like, you know, growing up and trying to be your own person. It gets into some of those themes, and in doing that, I think it also gets like some more darker tones in the film as well, which is interesting, and something I just I just really like that aspect of it. What else? What else can I say before diving into spoilers? Oh, and this will probably be the last thing I say, but if you're a Spider-Man fan, a Spiderhead, I don't know what they call themselves. If you're a Spider-Man fan that absorbs a lot of the content, I feel like there's going to be so much here for you. I think we saw in the trailers that they do like the Spider-Man meme where everybody's pointing at each other. We already seen like hundreds, maybe thousands of different Spider-Men from different franchises, but in this film, they take the multiverse very seriously. You're going to see Spider-Man from all kinds of properties in this, which was really cool to see. And oh yeah, I guess the very last thing actually that I'll add is that there's not a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene. So once the credits start rolling, if you don't want to watch the credits, you can feel free to leave. Even though definitely hats off to the people that made this film in any way, shape, or form, because it was really, really good. And I'm very excited and slightly sad that I have to wait to see the next Spider-Verse film. But with that, let's get into the spoilers. Alright, so I pulled up the Wikipedia here so I can like try and go in order from the different thoughts and hopefully not go into too much of a tangent. So, you know, we start off with Gwen Stacy's monologue, which kind of sounded not the best because of my theater and, you know, all that stuff. But I did think it was interesting that we started off on her instead of on Miles, like, you know, the movie's about him. But it turns out this movie is actually more so about them than anything else, and their relationship, and kind of the it's funny because there's a character, Paviter Pabakar. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I feel like I probably did. But he talks about the will they, won't they. And it's kind of funny because, like, I feel like as an audience member, I'm also kind of asking myself that. I mean, I definitely feel like they do have the chemistry and they kind of know that they're both vibing. But at the same time, nobody's willing to make that real first step, at least not in this film. So maybe the next film will get maybe a kiss, maybe maybe something like that. I don't know. Um, but we start off with Gwen. We actually get to see her backstory, which was nice because I feel like we kind of briefly go over it into the Spider-Verse, but this we actually get to see what happened with her and the consequences and her trying to like hang on to that in her universe because this is after she met Miles. She went back to her universe and is having to try and cope with like what happened to her, Peter Parker, and him becoming a lizard. And it's kind of interesting how like she gets pushed into the Spider-Verse once again because she pretty much she's out there as Spider-Woman trying to fight crime. She gets in a compromising situation where her dad is pointing a gun at her, like, I finally found the killer, Peter Parker, and she has to reveal, like, sorry dad, it's me, it's your daughter, I didn't kill Peter Parker, please stop trying to chase me now. And is the drama in that situation where he's still like his cop mind, I guess, takes over and not really like thinking with the dad brain. He just continues to be like, all right, you're under arrest, reading her Miranda rights pretty much. And that's how she kind of meets Miguel, which is the Spider-Man 2099. I don't know if they ever said that in the film officially. There's so many different spider people, it's honestly easier to call them by their real names. So they meet Miguel and Jessica Drew, which I kind of forgot Issa Rae was in this film. So when I hear Jessica Drew start speaking, I'm like, oh my god. And I also, I don't know if she was pregnant in the previews, but she's very pregnant throughout this whole film. And it's kind of funny because on Twitter I saw a video of someone saying like her baby during the whole film. It's just like somebody bouncing off the walls, which is it's kind of concerning. I don't know if she should be doing all the stuff she was doing that pregnant, but she's out there. And oh yeah, before we even skip to them like whisking Gwen away, we get to see the Vulture for not that long of a time. But I really like how like the Vulture was snatched from this like Italian Renaissance themed universe. And so he comes out and he has, I don't know if they animated his can you say model? I don't know if they animated his character with paper or not, but they gave it kind of a paper aesthetic. Which was really cool to see. And I kind of like how they pushed like that element of the characters. Like if they came from a universe where it's like, I don't know, clay or Legos, for example. Legos is in this, like you would actually see Lego characters and not like 3D modeled characters. Like the way that they pushed the art in this, we got to see Lego characters, we got to see real life people. Donald Glover made a freaking appearance in this film. That's crazy. They referenced Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I did not see Tom Holland Spider-Man, which was interesting. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below if he actually was featured in this film somewhere. But I didn't see it. But we even have freaking Insomniac Spider-Man referenced not once but twice. The first time I think Genki was playing the video game, which was pretty funny. And the second time was when they were in the like spider hideout, and they're talking to all the different Spider-Men, and they actually pulled Yuri Lowenthal in and had the Insomniac Spider-Man in there, which was pretty cool. What did I go on this tangent? Oh yeah, the art style. They they really pushed the art and were trying to be faithful to like the places where these characters came from, which I thought was super cool. But yeah, after we get done with Gwen's prologue, we then jump into Miles' story, and that's where we get to meet the villain Spot, or is it Spot, which he's interesting. But I was talking with my brother after the film. He didn't really like it. He hasn't seen the first one, so I feel like that's part of it. But also he's kind of, I don't know, this guy. I'm taking applications for a new brother. Drop it in the comments down below. But yeah, one of his critiques was the fact that like this villain wasn't super present in the film. Like, yes, we saw him and he was affecting certain events, but this was a story pretty much about Miles and Gwen for the most part. And I think that's completely okay because we have another film where he's powered up now. So he is the big bad of that film. Like there's no denying it. But I will say for this film in particular, he was kind of interesting getting to hear his backstory. But outside of like that introductory moment, I really don't feel like he has that big of a footprint. And so maybe it would have been nice to get a little bit more out of him. But with everything else that's going on, honestly, I think it's fine in my personal opinion. But I kind of like the excuse of going back into the Spider-Verse with using Spot, who his ability is to like use these like black dots as portals and reach in and go to a different universe, and he actually like falls into one by accident, which I really didn't think like anything was really going to come from it. Come to find out, he is able to go to different universes by doing this, and that's kind of how the plot starts to get the ball rolling here. So he's going into these different universes and trying to get these colliders from Alchemax, which if you remember from the first film, that's where like the big multiversal event happened. And he was apparently a part of it, and it's kind of funny how he tells his backstory and like weaves himself into the story. But yeah, he starts to go to all the different Alchemaxes of the universe to get even more power. And I don't know, I think it's really interesting because he's motivating where our main characters are going throughout the film without having to like exchange blows with them constantly or even exchange like that much dialogue. Like most of his dialogue is at the beginning of the movie, and then a little bit towards the end of the film where Miles meets him again. He's like, okay, bro, like, listen, I take you seriously now. You can stop doing all of this. Like, can we talk this out? I love how they always say that after they realize they're losing. Can we talk this out now? Which speaking of like the beginning and ends, the length of this film, this is like almost a 3-hour film. And it's now the longest animated film made by an American company, which is that's a cool feat. I will say though, I don't know if it needed to be. Do I feel like it's slowed down a little bit times? Ooh, slightly. I don't know where they could have cut some things, but this is like, there's so much in this that like, I don't know. It did feel like at some point in the theater, I was like, oh man, I've been here a while, you know? I still really enjoy my time, but you will start to feel that length. In my opinion, you will start to feel that length after a while. But going back to going to the different universes, part of going to those different universes, unfortunately, we don't get to go to the Lego universe. We get to peek into it, but we don't get to go to it. Is meeting these new characters. Like I mentioned, Paviter, which I feel like I'm just going to stick with that name because I feel like I know how to say that. Maybe. We get Paviter, which is the Indian Spider-Man, I believe Indian. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I honestly don't know. And then we get Hobby Brown, which this guy definitely the most interesting character in the movie, and I just got to go on a quick tangent about this because. So he's this rocker Spider-Man that, like, I had seen the costumes for it in the Insomniac video games, but other than that, I had, like, no idea who this guy was. So to find out that, like, it wasn't just, like, a goofy costume, like, he's seriously a rocker dude. He's from the UK, which I was not expecting, and he's black. I was like, what is going on with this guy? He was just completely a character I was not expecting, not the combination of all those things. So to see this guy and to see the way that he's interacting with his characters, where he's kind of like nonchalant, I don't care about the man, like I'm fighting for the people, like all this stuff, fight the establishment. To see his attitude towards Miles and towards Miguel, who's running like the spider compound where they're trying to keep the timeline like all together, kind of like a Doctor Strange situation, which by the way they mentioned him, which is interesting. And I believe we saw the convenience store from Venom or Shang-Chi. or I don't. It's one of the Marvel Universe movies, I believe, or at least Marvel adjacent movies, which was interesting. Um, where was I going with that? I don't. There's so much running through my mind right now. But yeah, going back to talking about Hobby and how he's probably the only spider person in this movie that's brave enough to, and it's kind of interesting. I did see a comment on Twitter where it's like, it is a little bit unrealistic that all these spider people would blindly follow Miguel. And I feel like that's kind of true. But, you know, you can't give everybody the spotlight. So I like that Hobby kind of embodied this rebel mentality, this like, you know, if I see Miguel is doing some crap, I'm definitely going to, you know, do something about it. He never called him out for it. He quit the Spider Society, but he also planted little seeds, or I guess sown little webs, I guess, like if you want to say like a spider does, to try and put a backup plan in place and help the people that he thinks are actually going to do something for good. And like, I guess like he chose his side with that, which I thought was really interesting. And even though I feel like Paviter and Javi on the outside didn't seem super impactful, Javi especially became like very crucial to Miles escaping the facility and kind of like just, yeah, escaping the facility, and Gwen kind of being able to continue to travel throughout the different multiverses. So yeah, definitely want to hear more from him. And at first he was kind of giving me like evil villain vibes with his fight the establishment attitude, but now I'm like, wait a minute, maybe he knows more than we let on, or that he let on, and he's actually a good guy from a, I don't know, I feel like he's good. I feel like he's good. If they pull like a reverse on me and he turns out to be bad, actually, I'm like, I don't know. He's just so hard to pin down. What makes him interesting. And then talking about all these characters, one thing that I actually also liked was Miguel talking about these canon events, which are basically things that we have seen in every Spider-Man movie. The Uncle Ben dying event and the like, with great power becomes great responsibility moment. Even though it's not always Uncle Ben, it's always somebody that impacts that spider person or being, since there are animals as well as Spider Cat, and influences them to become the hero that they are at that moment. And I kind of like that. I feel like it's kind of a joking nod at the fact that like almost every Spider-Man movie you always have to see an Uncle Ben die or somebody like that. I feel like it's kind of a jokey nod, but also kind of like making it like, you know what, let's just make it a part of Spider-Man canon, because it is honestly. So calling it a canon event, I mean, that makes a bunch of sense. To talk about another spider person that we did get to see though, Peter B. Parker is back, and he's brought Mayday, his daughter, along with him for the ride, which you know, she is outside of the womb, I guess, but still being shaken up like crazy. I guess that's spider person training for you. I don't know. It's kind of funny to see him and like this baby. They have a very cute dynamic, but it's just in my head, I'm like, I'm not sure this is good parenting, Peter. Even though he tries to tell himself that, I'm like, I'm not sure about it. But we get to see them, and he continues to have this kind of like big brother / fatherly influence on Miles, even when he is supposed to be like tracking him down after breaking out of the Spider Society, which I think is pretty cool. And of course, Gwen calls on him at the end of the film to make this group to try and go help Miles and stop Spot. So I'm glad that they brought him back, even through all the chaos of meeting all these other spider people. It was cool to see Peter B. Parker, as well as Gwen Stacy, make some progress in their own stories and get a little window into that. But yeah, Gwen's story, picking up from after she left her universe because she did not want to talk with her father at the time about everything that happened and the pressure, and her just revealing her identity and her dad being not accepting of it at all. She comes back to her universe, she talks with her dad, and something really interesting that they did with her universe that makes it like very distinctive, like, you know, when she's in her universe, is that the universe reacts to Gwen's emotions and like other people's emotions, but especially Gwen, since we're following her perspective, it reacts to her emotions by like if she's feeling sad or like down about herself. Like the whole room will be shaded in blue, and even like her hair and like her clothing will start to be shaded in cooler colors. And then you see her father walk in, and I think it's interesting that like her father to her never looks like a shade of blue, or I would say rarely looks like a shade of blue or any color associated with like some kind of negative emotion, because you know like that's her dad, that's somebody that she really loves and looks up to. And they, whenever they have like these moments where they get together and hug, which I think only happens twice in the film, it's always just like it goes from the world or the room is shaded in blue to like a burst of just warm colors, and like her really feeling connected with him and kind of like restoring herself to her regular color. And that's super cool, but it also really made me think of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It happens in JoJo. Every time something crazy is about to happen, the color palette completely changes, not necessarily according to emotions all the time, but it changes so wildly that you just can't help but notice it and notice like, oh, something crazy is about to happen. And it's a similar thing with Gwen Stacy, especially at the beginning of the film where she's feeling all these different things, talking with her dad, and towards the end where like it's just a whole like kaleidoscope of different colors going through Gwen as she's talking to her dad and talking about like having to hold on to the secret of being a spider person for so long, and then she finally tells him and he's not really on her side. Like that just made that moment even more powerful in my opinion, and that's super super dope. But the most impactful thing about this movie is the twist at the very end. Oh my gosh. So Miles thinks he's back in his universe, goes to talk to his mom and says, "Hey, I'm Spider-Man." And she looks at him and she's like, "Who's that?" And at first I thought it was a case of like, oh, maybe she's not caught up on the news. Maybe that Spider-Man's like a trendy thing. I'm like, I don't know why she wouldn't know who Spider-Man is, but there's gotta be an explanation for this. And then we cut to Gwen's perspective, where she is trying to look for Miles and trying to help him save his father, because she realizes that canon events can actually be avoided, because her father was also promoted to police captain. And apparently police captains near spider people die for some reason, specifically police captains. But her dad had just quit the force because of Gwen Stacy's reveal as Spider-Woman, and so he's no longer under this curse, this captain curse. So she's trying to go tell Miles like, hey, this can be avoided, and she gets to his universe and doesn't see him. And like, huh? And so then Miles walks through the house and he's like, "Mom, quit playing. Like, I'm Spider-Man. This is not a joke." And I don't know why he didn't like do any web slinging. That's the first thing I would have done. Like, no, I'm really not kidding. And I would like sprayed somebody in the face or something. But then he walks around the house and the house looks different. His mom's wearing a different outfit. And then his Uncle Aaron walks into the room. And if you've seen the first film, Uncle Aaron died. And they even referenced it in this film as well. But if in case you didn't know, Uncle Aaron died. So to see him walking around, something is definitely wrong. So Uncle Aaron takes him up to the roof. He's like, "Yeah, we got some business to do. Like, you look a little different. What's going on?" And then Miles gets knocked out. And he wakes up and he's telling Uncle Aaron, like, "Hey, I know you want to do good. You don't have to be the Prowler, blah, blah, blah." And Uncle Aaron's like, "Oh, I'm not the Prowler." Enter Miles from this universe, Universe 42, which, by the way they got there, was not expecting it at all. That was great. That was great. But enter Miles from Universe 42, who is this universe's Prowler. Ugh, this universe's Prowler. Bro. Bro. That I was not expecting that at all. And I some people might feel like I'm over exaggerating, and I might be a little bit, you know, you gotta get them reactions, that engagement. But when I feel like there are so many movies that are so predictable. Movies, shows, a lot of different media nowadays, at least in my opinion, I feel like they're very predictable. So when something can catch me off guard, and I like it. I'm like, oh my god. Like, thank you. Thank you. Oh, that was so, so good. And to have that be like the leaving, or I guess the jump off point for the next film is crazy. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. That ending is so fire. It's so good. It's so good. I cannot be more happy with this film. Like, the more I think about it, the more I like it. And I definitely do want to go see it again. It's very well done. It is very well done. It's faithful to the original while also giving people who liked other Spider-Man media like a little bit something to like as well. It's well written. The art is insane. They pushed it to another level. The animation is great. The artistic ideas that they put in this and just like building on what the first one has done is crazy. It's so good. It's so good. And the performances from all the actors, I do have to say, I haven't recognized that yet. So good. So good. Ah, it just gives you hope. It gives you hope. It gives you hope that like people that are passionate about film and passionate about, let's say, Spider-Man, or like anything, you know, it could be any different anything, could get people together, get the backing for it, and actually do the dang thing and make a great project. It's heartwarming. It's heartwarming. Super happy I got to see this today. Wow, 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 wow. But definitely let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this movie. If you have a spoiler, please put a spoiler tag in your comments, so that way if somebody else is reading the comments and they haven't seen it yet, they won't be spoiled by anything. Because we want to try and keep the experience for everybody pure. So I don't know. I really hate spoilers, so I would hate to do that to somebody else. But yeah, guys, let me know. Let me know. Now that I can talk with people about it, we gotta talk about it. We definitely gotta talk about this. But yeah, I think that's it for me. I've definitely talked my freaking head off. I really appreciate the support from you guys at the anime reviews. I'm really been enjoying doing that, and I am excited to do like a recap for Chainsaw Man in a couple weeks, I think. So that's gonna be cool. On the gaming side of things, though, if you want to check out my gaming channel, Summer Game Fest is about to start, and I'm hoping we get some big announcements there. And I've been playing lots and lots and lots of Tears of the Kingdom, so if y'all are into that, that's going to be over on the gaming channel. Oh my gosh, but yeah, that is going to be it for me. So remember, like and subscribe if you want to see more. And until next time, I hope y'all have a nice evening or night. What is it doing? I will see y'all later. Peace.